So, yeah, here we are on episode 1 of Reimagine Podcast. And this is probably like take 23 of the welcome. I'm Deborah Epstein. I'm glad to be here. And this is
Sangster, also glad to be here with giggling.
with giggling. Yeah. So this is, our Reimagine podcast has kind of been in my brain for the last couple of years. And for whatever reason, I was putting it off. It's not, I was trying to get out of the story of like, I'm not doing it because I'm too busy, or I'm not doing it because I'm afraid, or I'm not doing it because of whatever. I think I'm just, it wasn't the right time. And, I also got to a point this year where I'm like, I don't want to be doing this by myself anymore. I want to start collaborating with people and working with people. And if you followed me at all, I do a podcast with Larissa Russell, which is like a once a month thing. And, Claire and I have been friends for a really long time. And we were always talking about yes and, which we're going to talk a little bit about later in this episode. But it's, something about reimagining and yes and kind of to me go hand in hand. And reimagining, my whole medicine is about using the imagination to create something different. We're here in the world that we live in right now. It's kind of, it's not we're going to hell in a handbasket. It just feels that way. We're in the chaos of it right now. We're in the chaos of the transformation. But this is where we get to kind of come up and go, be conscious about the choices we're making, how we want to create things without telling ourselves the story, I can't because it's not been done before. That's the whole idea of reimagining, reinventing, reimagining yourself. Not so much changing the world will shift when you shift yourself. And that's kind of how that's a yes and too, right? Yes, I changed myself, and surprise, surprise, the world changed. So we're going to be doing, right now, we're going to start off with a monthly episode. We're going to have some guests. Our first guest is coming up next month. So this is going to be dropping in July of 2025. And our first guest is going to be in August of 2025. And that is Julie McCammon, who is a fellow MFR therapist who is reimagining the body-mind connection with some of the books that she's written. And so I'm going to kind of send it over to you because I can talk and talk and talk.
Yes, I am very excited that we finally did this 10 years after we first thought about doing it. Well, about 10 years, 9 years, I don't know. And I like the idea of reimagining, as I think we'll talk about later on, that there's always different perspectives and different ways to see things. And I think every time you reimagine something, you get more insight, more information, and more ways to move through it to the next layer or the next unraveling or the next reimagining. And I think the other nice thing about it, that you talk a lot about the imaginal realm and playing in imagination. And I think we talk about how anything with growth or healing or spiritual, you can keep going as long as you want. And I think the imaginal realm is a great metaphor for that as well, of like the only limit is your own imagination, isn't it? So if we reimagine and we reimagine and we reimagine, it's never wrong. Can't reimagine something wrongly. And so I think for me, this feels like playtime, that we get to come on here and have a vague topic or some form of thing that we want to reimagine, and then just let it spin itself and weave itself into whatever form it wants to take for now. And if we revisited the same topic in a year's time, it would weave a completely different picture. And I think what's great is we get to share this unraveling and reweaving and reimagining and yes-anding with whoever you are out there who's listening. So yeah, it's good. I'm excited to see what we reimagine. I'm very excited to speak to Julie as well. That'll be nice to hear her reimaginings.
Yeah. And we have some pretty good guests that we've been talking about, all in the realm of people that we know who are working in the healing arts. And I think we do kind of go in a little later and talk about how we each define healing. So that's up and coming later. And if it doesn't make the cut into this episode, it'll be in episode 3 when we go at it again, because we've been chatting a lot right now. But yeah, so the way this is going to it's going to weave together with some of the other things that we're doing together too, is in the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge Substack. This is going to live, and it's going to live on YouTube as a video. And then also it's, Claire is also writing for a section in the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge Substack, and hers is called A Magical Path, which is very magical, some of the stuff she's written already. And then this is like another thing. And it's really, yeah, why are we doing it? Why are we doing this? Just to have fun, I think.
Just
it's another mode of expression.
Yeah, well, it also gives us opportunity to explore and to hone in and to play in that realm that, normal life sometimes doesn't allow that space. And I think by doing this, we've created the space for ourselves as much as anyone else to get to play and sit. And I think it's also honoring of the work and of the path and of the whatever word you want to use, of like, actually, when we sit and talk, it's taking that step back and being like, what are we reimagining at the moment? What needs to be reimagined? How are we doing that? And it's also, it almost acts like little anchor points as well, of being like, okay, this is where I was. I did a little bit of reimagining. This is where I am today. I'll probably have reimagined it again by next week. It's just letting it. But I think we don't always get the time to sit and tell the stories and to honor the process. I think actually what you and I do really well is share from the process, not just the nice, neat end result. And that's where you always show up for me, like in the process, not after.
It's the messy middle. Yeah, and I think that's important, because I think one of the things, as I was kind of learning all this, what would really kind of bug me about people who are kind of in those leadership roles is you don't see how they got there. You hear the story of like, oh, I was over here and boom, now I'm over here. But it's nobody really talks about what's going on in the middle of that. They'll say like, oh, it was struggle and all this. And I think being in the midst of it is really interesting. And like the book I'm working on right now, it's called In the Midst of Creation. And it is, I mean, what I love about it, that just title just kind of dropped in one day when I was writing, because like when I write, it's, more of like a channeling, and, I have my eyes closed and, fingers on the keyboard, and I'm just like kind of typing whatever it is I see. And it was just like being in a mist and like really hard to see and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's so metaphorical for how life is, really. It's like we are sometimes we're in this real clear space, and I feel that like I get excited when I'm in that real clear space and like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going. And then the very next day or even that afternoon, I could be back in the mist again, and it's everything's kind of muddled. And it's like, okay, well, I got those moments of clarity, and I'm really grateful that, I get that. To me, that feels like a huge amount of grace, that, I get those moments of clarity. And whether I end up going in that direction or not, it's like a little time to, like a little pause to celebrate the journey. Like a plateau.
I better enjoy it, because the next wave will be coming soon. But yeah, I think it's that mist of the unknown, and that we don't always get to see it as it's happening even. And yeah, it's trusting that's very much where faith comes in, isn't it? Of trusting the process, not having a clue what the outcome's going to be. And it is, even the process isn't always what we think it should be, or very often is not what we think it should be. And it's creation is a fascinating experience.
Yeah, I mean, we are creativity creating creation, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's where we go back to the complex systems, isn't it? Like self-organizing. I can't remember all the self things, but it's a lot of things that we do or that
Yeah.
are done.
I feel like, like
Yeah,
is that Escher, MC Escher's work is,
yeah,
the hand,
yeah, yeah. Where
drawing
does it
hand. And that,
begin and end? Yeah,
I feel like sometimes I get into those places where I'm writing and I feel like I'm like writing like that. It's like I'm learning something and discovering something as I'm writing about it. And it's kind of like in this real time. And then it takes guts to kind of publish something like
oh,
that.
yeah, yeah,
But then I think at the same time, it's like it's such a huge service to someone who's a creator that may be struggling with that same issue or that same thing that you're in the midst of, and you're okay with letting someone see it. And there is a certain amount of courage in that too, because
oh, yeah.
we like to have things like, neatly tied up and packaged and presented. And there's something about, allowing the messiness to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's necessary, I think, in the current time that we live in to just be like, that's the big yes and, isn't it? Yes, and me too.
Yeah.
I may, you may think I have it all together, and also I fall apart regularly, and
Yeah.
it's okay. Like both
Yeah.
are okay, and both are necessary. I don't want to ever be completed. You don't think that's a thing?
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting too, because we're both therapists. We both work with people. And and this is, I think, why we're kind of reimagining, like, facilitating healing
Mm.
with people, not for people, but for healing them, but working more like it's an art,
Oh,
the art of facilitating. And it's that recognition that we are human too. We are moving through stuff, and there's that perception, of the person on the table and the person who's, doing the work, that one's the expert and the other one's the know nothing, right?
yeah,
You
but the
must know
irony,
nothing or you wouldn't be here.
the irony being the expert's the one on the table because they're the expert in their own system. The know nothing's probably a therapist. Like,
Right. And that's how we're trained, right? To know nothing.
yeah, which
I'm an
is so
expert
much,
at knowing nothing.
yeah, so much easier. Well, it isn't because people can't do it, but I think it's so much less pressure to not know.
Yeah, but it's also like helping them tune in to, like, because everyone says this too. It's like, all the wisdom is within you, and all you have to do is look in.
Mm.
And there is a certain truth to that, right? If you sit there long enough, the answer will come.
Yeah.
But I think, and the answer is not linear ever. The answer is,
Right.
get up and go over there. Yeah. What? The answer is usually an experience, right? It's not like, here, let me hand you the 10 commandments and the guidebook on life. No, it's more like the experience of what,
Yeah, go and
life
live
is.
and then come back and report.
Yeah. Nobody knows. And if they tell you they know, then they don't
Then
really
they're
know.
wrong. Yeah.
They're wrong. Yeah. We're just, yeah, it's all about being in discovery. But, all joking aside, like, a lot of us do live in a lot of pain because um, we just haven't really been taught that, you know, that this pain means something, that this pain is a voice to something, that, we got to put that band-aid on it. We got to shut it up. We got to do, something to make it go away. And it's really presented itself for a different reason than, just to be disappeared.
Indeed. It's, what is it? Rumi's one is something about pain is, oh, the cure is in the pain, right? That you have to turn and face and see what it is.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us for episode 1 of the Reimagine podcast. Episode 2, as I said earlier, will be dropping in a month, and we'll be having a guest, Julie McCammon. will be joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again. If you have any comments, please leave them. And if you really want to get into it, drop us an email. All the information is listed below and in the show notes. And thank you all for joining us for our very first episode of the Reimagine podcast.